Oshawa's General Motors plant says the company will be cutting shifts due to President Trump's tariffs, impacting hundreds of jobs. Unifor, the union representing some 3,000 employees at this facility, says the shift reduction is reckless and threatens the entire auto parts supplier network. Tessa Bennett joins us in studio with the details. What can you tell us, Tessa?
Manisa, GM says its Oshawa assembly schedule will return to a two-shift operation rather than three in light of forecasted demand and the evolving trade environment. The news has prompted concern from union workers, Ontario's premier, and the country's industry minister.
That's 700 jobs, direct jobs in the plant, 700 people, 700 workers, 700 families.
Hundreds of auto assembly workers at General Motors in Oshawa learned this morning they'd be losing their jobs as the company reduces the number of shifts at the facility. In a statement released by the company this morning, GM says they'll be returning to a two-shift operation, citing the tariffs on autos and vehicle parts coming from U.S. President Trump. The message goes on to say, quote, "These changes will help support a sustainable manufacturing footprint as GM reorients the Oshawa plant to building more trucks in Canada for Canadian customers."
The predictions are that this will increase the cost of vehicles, which obviously will reduce production because you won't sell as many eventually.
The CEO of General Motors says tariffs will cost the company up to $5 billion this year alone.
But I think this is less about tariffs and more about potentially preparing for an economic slowdown. If there is a recession, which everybody is sort of now pointing to and expecting a recession to happen, people won't be buying pickup trucks to the same level that they were prior to the recession.
In a statement of their own, the union representing some 3,000 employees at this plant called the decision reckless, saying the move would ripple through the entire auto parts supplier network.
We're not going to take this lying down. We know how to fight back, and that's our intention right now, and we can do that on a number of fronts.
This is the latest in a string of layoffs and production pauses at auto facilities across Canada in response to the 25% tariffs placed on foreign-made vehicles entering the U.S. The Stellantis assembly plant in Windsor is gearing up for another brief closure next week as the company plans to adjust its production. As these disruptions continue, U.S. Customs and Border Protection guidance sent out a memo saying automobile parts that are compliant with the Canada-United States-Mexico Free Trade Agreement would not be hit with the tariffs slapped on the auto sector last month. It comes after the big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis, have spent months lobbying the Trump administration, saying the costly economic measures have the capacity to devastate the North American industry.
Does it ultimately mean that the pain has gone away? No, there are still going to be tariffs that are going to be floating through the system.
The president has also signed an executive order that says manufacturers who pay the general auto tariff won't also need to pay for the other levies that could stack, like the ones on steel and aluminum. Industry experts say they are hopeful now that Canada's federal election is out of the way and trade talks can begin.
We're now in a position to start negotiating with the United States on a new free trade agreement, whatever shape that takes. And I think, I'm very much hoping that there can be a free trade agreement that is struck that ends a lot of this uncertainty in the automotive industry.
Earlier this week, the province's Financial Accountability Office released a report that suggested Ontario could lose more than 68,000 jobs due to U.S. tariffs this year, but acknowledged that figure could change if tariffs are lowered.